Season 4 of the Monster series is something that's already been confirmed, and it's Lizzie Borden. Following the success of Dahmer in 2022, what was originally supposed to be a limited one-off series, after then becoming one of the most watched TV series on the platform ever, it birthed the beginning of the Monster series. Dahmer, the Menendez brothers, and Gein have been the three so far, the 70s, the late 80s, and the 1950s, but this next installment, which is set to be focused on Lizzie Borden, is going to be set in the late 1800s. It's a completely different time period. This isn't only the first female suspected killer that the show's going to be focused on, but it's also the first that took place in the 1800s. With this being the last confirmed series at the moment, I wanted to take a look at all that was out there and share everything that's known about the suspected killer and the upcoming show. So let's get into it. Here is Monster Season 4, the Lizzie Borden story, Everything We Know. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The story and real-life case of Lizzie Borden. The real-life story is one that proves to be interesting. Coming from a wealthy family, Lizzie Borden lived with her father and her mother, Andrew Borden and Sarah Borden, up until her mother's death. It was following her mother's death where Andrew met a new woman named Abby Gray and married her 3 years after his previous wife had died. Lizzie's father Andrew and stepmother Abby are the two murdered victims that the show will be centered around, and Lizzie will be the suspect. Within real life, Lizzie was the one that was accused for the crimes of killing both her father and her stepmother with a hatchet. Abby was struck 17 times, and it was said that her father was struck around 10 times. There was said to have been tension between Lizzie and the family, especially due to the fact that her father was distributing property that they owned to members of Abby's family, almost making it seem like he was more in touch with them than he was with his own daughters, and it tied into the theory around Abby marrying Andrew for his wealth. It was also said that Andrew killed multiple pigeons in his barn with a hatchet because he believed that they carried infection and diseases, which Lizzie was unhappy with because she'd built a roost for them around that time. When the killings took place, it was said that Lizzie was inside of the house carrying out her regular chores of cleaning the guest room when Abby went upstairs to make the bed. This was then when Abby was killed, sometime between 9 and 10:30 in the morning. It was then said that Andrew returned home at about 10:30 AM and he took a nap. Whilst he was asleep, he was struck around 10 times with a hatchet as well. When it came to the investigation, Lizzie's answers were considered to be strange, and they often contradicted what she previously said that she was doing when the murders took place. Officers also said how they disliked her attitude and that she seemed too calm considering the circumstances. Pair that with the fact that she was seen to be destroying a dress that she claimed had wet paint on it, which was presumed to be the dress that she was wearing when the killings were carried out. And also that there were hatchet-type weapons in the basement of the house, one without a handle because it could have been covered in blood. This ultimately led her to be later arrested and made to stand trial for the murder of her stepmother and her father. During the murder trial, Lizzie was actually acquitted for the crimes and was never convicted. There wasn't really enough evidence to convict her. Her presence at the house at the time of the killings was something that did get a large focus, especially seeing as though Sullivan, the housemaid, felt she saw her there, but she had an alibi that said that they saw her leaving the barn shortly after 11, and only then after returning home was it where she found her father dead at around 11:10 and called the maid downstairs. When it came to the jury deliberating, they went away for only around an hour and a half, and when they returned they acquitted Lizzie of the murders, leading her to say that she was the happiest woman in the world. Nobody was ever convicted of the killings. However, 5 days before Lizzie's trial took place, there was another axe murder that occurred in Fall River, where Bertha Manchester was found dead in her kitchen. It was said that there were many similarities between both cases, but Jose Carrera de Mayo, who was convicted of the killing of Bertha, wasn't in Fall River at the time of the other murders. With Lizzie going free, it ultimately led her to live a relatively ostracized life whilst still remaining in Fall River. Both her and her sister remained close until 1905, where Emma moved out following a feud with Nance O'Neill, and they never saw each other again. However, both sisters actually died within a 9-day period, and they were buried side by side in a family plot in Oak Grove Cemetery. So this is definitely going to be a case and a series that'll be interesting to follow. I do wonder why Murphy decided on Lizzie Borden, especially considering that she was never convicted of the killings and she didn't really live a life of crime afterwards. There have also been many adaptations of Lizzie Borden over the years, with Christina Ricci actually portraying her in a TV movie that was released. Considering the Monster series was originally said to be focused on serial killers, which is defined as being somebody who commits 3 or more murders over a period of more than a month, the show has now definitely drifted from what it originally set out to be. I'm hopeful that this can be a good series, but I fear it's just going to be a bit like the Menendez brothers show, which hit its peak in the first episode when the killing took place, and then following that we spent the rest of the series questioning their motive. Time will tell, but I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. The cast. When it comes to the cast that are going to feature in this series, there are a few cast members that have been announced. The first is Ella Beatty, who's going to be appearing as Lizzie Borden, the suspected killer. She has previously worked with Ryan Murphy as she featured in the 2nd season of Capote vs. the Swans. Rebecca Hall has been cast as Abby Borden, the stepmother to Lizzie. Vicky Creeps is Bridget Sullivan, the maid of the house that was also said to be present there at the time of the murders. It's also said, which I think is a bit strange, that Charlie Hunnam will be featuring in the series again, but this time as Andrew, Lizzie's father who was killed. Billy Lord is said to be Emma Borden, Lizzie's older sister, and Jessica Barden is going to be Nance O'Neill, who's a stage actress whose friendship with Lizzie caused difficulties between her and her sister. Alongside that, I imagine there'll be many other cast members that are going to be announced, but for now, they're the only ones that have officially been confirmed. With Lizzie's uncle being present the night before the murder, and the jury and officers playing a large role in this case, it's going to be interesting to see who gets cast in those roles. In seeing how Ryan Murphy works, it wouldn't surprise me if it's familiar faces from the likes of American Horror Story and other shows that he's made, as he does often like to use people that he's worked with before. The release date. When it comes to the release date, that's something that's purely speculation at the moment. The good news is we know that the show is definitely on the horizon. However, the best way to determine when it could be released is to look back at when the previous shows came out. Dahmer came out in September of 2022, and then we had a 2-year wait for the Menendez brothers show, which aired in September of 2024. However, the wait for Season 3, which was focused on Ed Gein, was only just over a 1-year wait, as that was released on the 3rd of October in 2025, so the gap in time got a lot shorter. My guess is that with the Lizzie Borden story being confirmed earlier on this year, it makes me think that the 4th season could well be released in around a year's time, and hopefully Murphy and the team won't make us wait 2 years for it. The most recent update on the filming of the 4th season is that back in July it was announced that principal photography for Season 4 is set to begin in late 2025. So based on that, I'm predicting that we'll be getting the show in around September or October in 2026. I think it'll stick to an autumn release because it's the best time for it, especially seeing as though it's around the Halloween season. Unfortunately for now, that's all that's known about the upcoming series of Monster. I think this season definitely has the potential to either be the best, or it could do the opposite and be the worst. I say this because Lizzie Borden is probably the most unknown out of them all. It's set in a completely different time period to what we're used to, and she also wasn't convicted of the crimes like the others. So we don't actually know who was truly responsible for the death of her father and stepmother. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch when the show does get released next year. So, there you have it. Monster Season 4, the Lizzie Borden story, everything we know. If you want to see why I feel the Ed Gein show was a bit of a mess, then check the video below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Are you looking forward to the Lizzie Borden show? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.